Welcome back to An Athlete's Journey. I am your host, Travis Reed. Today, we have a special guest, a close personal friend of mine who, kind of grew up watching, and we played together in college. He doesn't know it, but he gave me so much good advice through college, you know what I'm saying? Because, he was the only person at that time that was going through exactly what I was going through, which means, he came from Syracuse to Long Beach State. I came from UCLA to Long Beach State. So like we were the only two guys coming from like high level programs to, like quote unquote mid majors. And back then it wasn't no transfer and play like it is now.
Yeah,
like back then you had to sit out a whole year of college, so I even thanked him on my senior year speech because of all the great advice that he gave me. Like I said, he doesn't know this. Maybe he does. Maybe I told him, but I just respected the hell out of him as a player, as a teammate, and as a friend. Mr. Rock Lloyd, welcome to the show, Rock.
What up, T-Rex? Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. No, I didn't know that. I thought I was a lousy teammate. So but that's pretty good insight to know.
No, definitely, man. Like I said, Rock doesn't realize that he's the one that talked me out of going to the G League or D League at the time. He told me how it was. Like, yeah, T-Rex, you don't want to do this. This is hard. 5 dudes in an apartment. It's just like JC. And you might be in, New Willacoochee, Georgia. And I was like, yeah, none against Willacoochee. But I wasn't feeling it. He was like, go make money overseas. I used his agent to get me overseas, And so, yeah. Rock, I said, me and Rock are intertwined a lot more than what he think he know. So
that's good shit. Appreciate
it. You know what I'm saying? So, and now, like I said, his son is one of the top players in the country. Played just like his daddy. He's just taller and skinnier. His dad was much thicker. But his son's going to Nebraska. I think his son is an NBA pro. I've watched him, kind of grow up. All this high school. Even the highlights that I've seen, online from him. Son, I was like, his son can play. His son learned. The Rock taught him well. And like I said, even my dad, who watches ball. He was like, "Oh yeah, no, Rock's son's a pro. Played just like it. He played just like his daddy." So, but like, let's get into it, Rock. We'll get into you and your journey. You know what I'm saying? How did your journey of basketball start?
Well, I'm from what we call a Mecca basketball. That's Harlem, New York. I just had to throw that jab into my Cali people.
Yeah, of course.
But nah, man, honestly, basketball actually wasn't even really my favorite sport growing up. I started off playing baseball, and then I transitioned to football. And my older cousin and the kids around my neighborhood started to play basketball. So I couldn't really play baseball and football by myself. So I just started to go to the park and just be there just to be with my friends, So that's kind of really how it started. I was a little chubbier kid back then. I was pretty athletic and everything, but I really didn't have any interest in playing basketball. And then I just continued to play for a hobby. Obviously, growing up in New York City, basketball is really just a way of life. Like even guys that don't play basketball, like trying to make it somewhere, play basketball. Like that's just what we did for our pastime, So eventually, man, I just started to really, slim out, got a little taller, started to get athletic, and found myself actually starting to be pretty good at the game. And then I just kind of fell in love with it since then.
Makes sense. Well, you already just answered, like, did you play any other sports? So baseball was your sport, and football as well. Were you part of the AAU circuit? Did you do all that?
Yeah, I eventually started to play for New York City, the Gauchos, at the time, and I don't know about now, but at the time, Gauchos and another program called Riverside. Riverside Hawks was the top 2 programs in New York City. So if you were any good, you most likely played for one of those programs. And I ended up playing. I actually started off playing with some other local teams. In my first experience playing against Gauchos, I think they beat us scores like 113 and like 17, something like that. And
dang.
but I had 17. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So you know, that was the beginning of my little AAU experience, because after that, the Gauchos actually, you know, recruited me from that game, and I became part of their program, and I've been with them all through probably from 7th grade all the way through high school.
Okay. I mean, it's always the case. I remember the way I got to ARC with Jason and Jared Collins, I was playing with my dad's team. They beat us by like 25, you know, but I had like
25
20.
better than 100 though. So.
Yeah, that's true. No, we got the most we got blown out was by Shay's team. They beat us by like 56. You know, so like, yeah, that was like, oh, okay. So the Boys and Girls Club is different levels.
Yeah, it's a different level. You figure that out real quick.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, oh, okay. So this is different. So, but no, man, that's cool. Okay. So you're playing for, obviously, I know about the Gauchos. I know about church. I mean, they've had, you know, countless NBA guys from New York.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know, so I know, you know, I played against, you know, Riverside Church a lot with Elton Brand and Ron Artest, you know, growing up. So, yeah. What high school did you go to, and what was your most memorable moment in high school?
I went to a school called Cardinal Hayes High School. Shout out to Cardinal Hayes. They're actually like top 15 in the country right now, too. But at the time, you know, the time that I went there, the claim of fame basketball-wise for the school was the fact that Jimmy Black, who was a point guard at North Carolina, went there, and Jamal Mashburn at the time. At the time, I was, you know, in the 90s in New York City, I mean, the talent was just phenomenal. You know, like Cardinal Hayes was part of the number one league in the country at the time. Schools, Cardinal Hayes, LaSalle Academy, St. Raymond's, Rice High School, and All Hallows made up the league. And three of those teams were top 10 in the country. You know, with some guys who went on obviously to play D1 and some pros. So my school necessarily wasn't extremely known for basketball as much, but like I said, my older cousin, who influenced me a lot to play, was there. So I wanted to go there and kind of play with him. We ended up playing together, I think, my sophomore year, and he was a senior, I believe. And probably my most memorable moments, which didn't have really much to do with like me per se, but the fact that like one day, you know, back then they didn't have the internet and all that, so being in the newspaper was like a huge deal. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, one day we had a game, me and my cousin, we actually like, you know, played really well down the stretch, and we won the game like in overtime. So like in the morning, when I wake up in the morning, you know, the first thing you do is you go run to the papers to see, you know, you got some love, you know what I'm saying? So I open the paper, and there's this picture of me and my cousin. Like I'm trying to get ready to dunk or something. My cousin is right there. And, you know, I'm telling my mom, I was like, yo, who this dude there? All that work I did last night, who this dude they put in the paper? And, you know, I looked again, I was like, oh, that's me. So, you know, and then I had read the article, and it was like, you know, they called us brothers at the time, but they didn't know they was just like Lloyd brothers triumph, you know, over whatever school we played. So like that meant a lot to me, you know, for us to be able to do that. That was probably like one of my most memorable moments, even though I had a lot more moments that was probably more glorified to the public. But for me personally, like, you know, that was a big deal. That was my first time in the newspaper, you know, first time being in an article with my family. So it meant a lot.
Man, that is tight. And like, obviously I remember watching you playing in the Magic Johnson Round Ball Classic game, and obviously with Kobe and you know, Tim Thomas, I think all them dudes played in it. So I was like, you know, I watched your career because I heard about you, you know, in high school, obviously, you know, from New York.
Back then, all we did was hear about each other and read about each other, because you couldn't just turn on the TV and watch, you know, watch guys. So everybody knew everybody's name, and you had to go to the tournament and be like, yo, which one is that Travis kid? Yo, I'm gonna get out here.
Well, that's what I said. Like, I remember back then, it was only 2 games that was on TV. The McDonald's and the Magic Round Ball.
The Magic Round Ball.
That was it. There wasn't nobody else on. There was nothing else on TV that you see the guys. You know, so I was like, oh, okay. Because I remember, you know, like you were rated ahead of Kobe and Corey Benjamin. Obviously, you know, Corey's my boy.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Well,
okay.
I don't know if I was ever rated ahead of Kobe. Maybe Corey, but those two was.
Well, you were
two
up there. You were up there. I remember.
I was in the same echelon as those guys for sure. But those dudes right there, boy, in high school was like they were special. Corey was ridiculous, and Kobe. But yeah, I was definitely in the same class for sure.
No. Like I said, Corey's probably one of the best high school athletes I've ever seen. You know, like
absolutely,
as far as like athletically, like he was.
Yeah, absolutely.
Stupid, you know, like athletic, you know, and so. All right. So you're obviously one of the top players in the country coming out of New York. Was Syracuse your first choice? Did you go on any recruiting trips, or you know, how did that college thing go?
Yeah, well, Syracuse, I grew up in New York City, so obviously, Syracuse to me, I was always a fan of Syracuse. Like I love Syracuse. Growing up watching them, it seemed like they was on like every day, especially on the East Coast. My dad actually went to Syracuse for a little bit, he played football a little bit there. So, I was ecstatic when they kind of made me a priority recruiting wise. So I did, at the time, the Big East to me was undoubtedly the best conference in the country, in my opinion. Being an East Coast guy, that's what you know, and that's what you see. But the year, my senior year in high school, we had, in the Big East was Allen Iverson, Kerry Kittles, Ray Allen. I want John Wallace at the Q's. Like, I don't want to short people, but there was a lot of talent in that conference. So they were always on, and I basically told everybody that recruited me that like if you wasn't in the Big East, you don't really need to call me. You know what I'm saying? So I kind of cut my recruitment, off like from the head because I knew for a fact that I was going to the Big East.
Yeah, he wasn't going anywhere else. Okay,
it was And then I'm me. I'm brutally honest. You know how I am. I'm gonna say what I gotta say, and I just told coaches that I appreciate it, but if you're not in the Big East, you won't waste time calling me. So, make a long story short, I had some visits. I had a bunch of home visits. At the time, we did home visits. I don't even think they do that anymore. But yeah, I haven't had one home visit with my son. We just always like I don't know, it's just way different now. But we had home visits. I had like half the Big East at the house, and then I got 5 official visits. I went to Rutgers, my first visit, and then my next visit, I went to Syracuse. The next weekend, I was supposed to go to UConn and so on and so forth, but I committed on my weekend at Syracuse, and then that was it. So it was my dream school. It's where I wanted to go. I didn't see any need to continue the recruiting process when I felt like I was comfortable with going to that school. And that's what I did.
Oh, yeah. No, trust me. That's how I felt when I was at UCLA. When we actually came in together, me, Billy, Rico, we all came on a recruiting trip together. They bunched us all up. And I was like, man, I gotta go.
This is it. This is it. When you know.
Like I was going to UCLA even after Harry got fired. I was still going to UCLA no matter what. Yeah. So I know. So the biggest difference between high school and college, in your opinion, from your first year?
For my first year, the biggest difference was, understanding defense, defensive schemes, understanding the size and athleticism and scouting reports, things of that nature. Like I used to, like in high school, I would go to the basket, and once I jump, people would just literally move out my way because they didn't want to. You know what I'm saying? Like when I got to college, I had to learn. You have to learn how to play almost again. Like my school back then, like we were really good. We were a top school in the city by the time my senior year. So, but when you're really talented in high school, like you can develop bad habits and get away with certain things that you can't get away at the next level. So you just have to learn those things. And maturity kicks in. It's almost like going from playing a boys' sport to a man's sport. And even if you're talented and you know how to play, you could actually be a better talent than a lot of people on your team or in college, but they still can be better players than you at that time because they understand the college game. So
That's
just
true.
learning the college game over again, and learning how to be coached. You know what I'm saying? Because you kind of could get away with things in high school. And so just learning the college, learning how to score. For me, I was a scorer, so the biggest thing was learning how to score at the college level.
Makes sense. That makes sense. You're one of the top players in the country. You come into Syracuse. Was it like what made you transfer to Long Beach State? Was it time? Was it what was going on with that?
Well, it was a combination of a lot of things. It was almost like a buildup of things. Obviously first of all, you coming in and all freshmen think that they're gonna get a certain amount of playing time. The recruiting process obviously makes you feel that way. And sometimes not even just the process, it's just exactly what the coach tell you. You know what I'm saying? My playing time wasn't exactly happy with my playing time, and then it just was a conflict, a personality conflict between myself and the head coach, and that just boiled over into a lot of things. Myself, being immature and handling situations immaturely at the time, being an 18-year-old freshman, and probably the first time in your life as a basketball player, having this much conflict and having this much difficulties, ever as a player, and learning how to adjust and adapt to that. I handle things immaturely in reaction to what coaches started or whatever. So, it just turns into a snowball effect. You know what I mean? So, like, I love Syracuse then. I love it to this day. It just didn't work out for me at the time. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you look back and wonder if you should have stayed or you shouldn't have stayed, but God's plan is God's plan. So it is what it is. It's where I moved on.
So when you decided you were going to transfer, how was your process? Because it's a different kind of recruiting from like high school to like being a college transfer.
For sure.
So especially back then, back then it was a different kind of like thing. So
it was extremely difficult for me because you're in a position where you want to transfer, and legally you're not allowed to talk to colleges while you're in school at the time. At the time, you couldn't start your recruiting process while you was at another school. You know what I'm saying? Like, coaches wouldn't really want to hear from you. And then of course I played for a Hall of Fame coach who knows damn near every coach in the business, and they, at the end of the day, they always together, no matter what. You know what I'm saying? We just players. We come a dime a dozen. So I know a lot of the schools that I was interested in and was interested in me at the time, were almost probably like friends of my coach. So everything I tried to do, was kind of like blocked because, like Syracuse almost was like re-recruiting me again because they really didn't want me to leave. So I had different schools that I was dealing with. I was dealing with Kentucky, Georgia Tech, Florida State, and Louisville, at the time. And those schools just happened to be, all of those coaches were kind of in their coaching fraternity, like they are. So, word gets back and then you kind of shut your water off. You know what I'm saying? So, it was difficult, man. I'm gonna go ahead and keep talking because I know what some of the next questions are, how I actually ended up at Long Beach State. So throughout that process, I ended up taking a visit to Louisville. And Louisville was actually the school that I committed to when I was transferring. Denny Crum was there at the time. Denny Crum wasn't with no politics. He didn't care. He was like, yo, you want to come here? We got a spot for you, And I felt comfortable there. I had some friends on the team already. And I committed. But then they ended up having some NCAA violations or something. And I think they got banned from like the tournament or something like that. So that kind of made me change my mind about going in because I wanted to have a chance to play. And I end up going to Long Beach State. And the connection with first of all, I had never been to California, period, in my life before I even went on my visit to Long Beach State.
Oh, okay.
So I went there because obviously you know this story, but the head coach at Long Beach State at the time was the coach that recruited me at Syracuse. So I've known him since I was like 13 years old, you know what I'm saying? And transferring then at that time, you just wanted to make sure that, your stuff was solidified. You didn't have any time to go through no BS again. So I went with someone who I thought I trust, which was, who I trusted, which was Wayne Morgan. He was a longtime assistant at Syracuse, and that's how I ended up at Long Beach State.
Nah, yeah, like I said, it's the same kind of thing, man. Like you be thinking like, man, like where the hell am I gonna go? I can't mess this up because I can't transfer again.
You can't transfer again. You gotta make it, work. So
yeah.
I do what you gotta make sure you with the right people, because picking colleges and decisions and all that, you gotta make sure the right people have your best interests in mind, when you go into these schools.
Oh, definitely. It's the same thing. I wanted to stay. I knew for Long Beach State, I knew I wanted to stay home. I actually was going to commit to Oklahoma. That's when they had Calvin Sampson. He was the coach. I went on the trip there. But I was like, man, I really don't want to come out to Oklahoma. It ain't nothing in Norman, Oklahoma. Nothing.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to go other places when you raised out here in California. A lot of y'all get spoiled. You don't want to go anywhere else, man. You got this Cali love out here. Y'all don't know how to act when y'all get away from the crib.
Hey, it's very true. We are very spoiled out here. It's hard to leave this fun in the sun. I remember, like I said, I went to Tennessee on a recruiting trip, Oklahoma. I even went to Rhode Island because Jim Herrick was there. And I was like, man, it's just too cold. I can't do it. You know what I'm saying? I can't do it. So, Long Beach became the school for myself. So, but yeah, I remember that. So this is what the people want to know, what do you remember about our college battles against each other? That's what everybody really want to know.
Our college battles against each other? I gotta move because these damn dogs are going crazy. It's weird because battling wise against each other, we didn't really have much battles.
Yeah, that's true. We was always
on because we were on the same team all the time. Whether it's in practice or whatever. But like you said, the uniqueness of our relationship stems from us coming from these programs, and going through similar situations, going back to what we call like a mid-major, like you said. A lot of what you talked about, what I remember most is that, we instantly connected because we, had those similar situations and both had to adapt to the differences at the time, especially between the mid-majors and and the high power stuff. I think those gaps are a little closer now than they were then.
Yeah.
With the insurgence of the the kids, I give this generation a lot of credit because they're empowering themselves. They're like, before when we came out, you had to go to certain schools to get looks and get off, and you had to deal with coaches and systems and this and that. But these kids now are doing things. They're empowering themselves as the athlete, and they're going to different schools and they're making it happen from there. So I think as a result of the talent being spread out a little bit more, schools are getting better facilities and, better support, better gear and TV contracts, which is huge because everybody's on TV now. That wasn't the case when we were coming out. You had to be certain conference, certain school, and you was always on TV. You always seen the same schools on TV all the time. So, you know what I'm saying? So we had to adapt to big differences from what I think, just the weight rooms, the facility, the gear, is different. Yeah. So I think that's where, we really connected at, knowing that we came from those places. And then, it was time for us to partner up and like do something special in the Big West where people expected that from us and we expected it from ourselves. So it was more of a camaraderie than a battle because, we knew we came here just for a mission and we both was focused on that mission. Coming from those schools, we needed to prove to people that it wasn't us. We wasn't the problem. You know what I'm saying?
That's very true.
That's
very true. That's very true. What would you feel was your greatest triumph in college?
In college, as an individual, I don't know what my greatest triumph was because I always feel like I underachieved in college for me.
Right.
I felt like I could have done more. I felt like I could have gotten better. I could have did some things differently, but that's just the maturity in me now. Talking back, I enjoy my experience overall, man. Like I just love to compete against people. I just love playing basketball. Like I just had an opportunity. These are things that I probably would have never thought of at a younger age. But when you get older and it's all done and said and done, you appreciate a lot of the small things that you take for granted while you're playing. Mm-hmm. So for me, it was just more about opportunity. Like I look back and I just appreciate the opportunity to compete and play. Obviously I didn't get to my ultimate goal, which I felt like, obviously all our goals are to get to the NBA. And for me, coming short of that makes me feel as if I underachieved because I know, what my talent level was, and, and I felt like I could have earned a spot on a team, especially watching the NBA, and half the NBA is my friends and guys I grew up with at the time. Yeah, these guys were not only playing, they were the best players in the league at the time. Mm-hmm. So I felt to myself, like, yo, yeah, I know I was All-American with this dude. If he's the best player in the league, I could at least be 8th, 9th, 10th man on the roster. You know what I'm saying?
No, I always felt like it's always weird. Like it's always like more who you know than what you know. It's like as far as like I feel like if me and you was like we came out now, like at Long Beach State, we both be first round picks. Because
T-Rex, it's all timing, brother. Life is about timing and opportunities. You have to, people talk about luck, but you just have to be prepared and ready when your time is called. Mm-hmm. And I know, like, sometimes when you playing basketball, like people don't understand as a basketball player the amount of emotions and the amount of ups and downs and the mental stuff that happens with you trying to put pressure on yourself to achieve and do things that you're trying to do. And it's depressing because I remember, I'll tell you a quick story. When I was coming out of Long Beach State, that draft, I had a high power agent, everything. And, on draft day, when you're going through the draft, your agent is constantly on the phone with you because they're back and forth with the NBA teams. Mm-hmm. And they know you pretty much know where you're going and where you're going to get drafted by and stuff. Mm-hmm. So on draft day, I got maybe 4 calls from my agent, saying that I'm getting ready to get drafted next on this team or that team. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to name the teams and all that stuff, but there was 4 different teams that were supposed to draft me in the second round coming from my agent. Now, who knows if he was telling the truth or not telling the truth. I didn't see any reason for him to lie, but you calling me, I just got off the phone with such and such, and they say that they'll draft you in the second round here, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So, going through that draft, I'm excited. We're sitting around my family watching, and then, you don't hear your name called, and I immediately, went into an extreme state of depression for months. You know what I mean? Like I went in the bathroom and just cried for hours, you know what I'm saying, after that draft that day. Mm-hmm. And, then I stopped, I didn't play. Like, I stopped working out. Like I didn't do anything after I didn't get drafted. I just chilled. Like I was just depressed for like a month or something. And what happens is, you can't do that. Those are things you just got to keep working and working and working. Mm-hmm. But at that time and that age, I don't know that. So then when your opportunity actually comes up, you're not prepared. So you just shot yourself in the foot because you let one incident dictate the rest of how your career is going to start and go. Mm-hmm. So I got an opportunity to, like a month later, I got an opportunity to go to the D League, which was, the G League was the D League at the time. Mm-hmm. And I went to play for Fayetteville. I forgot Patriots, and I wasn't ready. You know what I'm saying? Like I just got a call out of the blue, and I'm I'm so depressed. Like, I ain't working out. I ain't doing nothing. I'm at the crib. I ain't in the gym. And I'm not blessed with the best basketball body. So 2 weeks off for me, I didn't probably gain 20 pounds. You know what I'm saying? So,
Right,
these are things, honestly, to move into almost probably the next segment, the things that I went through as a basketball player and experiences in my life, I truly believe that God prepared me to deal with my son now.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I wasn't blessed to get all of the things that I was trying to achieve. And I think the things that I went through in basketball and life has prepared me to guide him through what he's going through. And that makes that underachievement feeling that I have completely go away. So, anything that I thought basketball was the best thing ever in my life, the most fulfilling thing that I would ever do in life was play basketball and play at a high level. And that doesn't even come remotely close to watching your son do it. So that's all God's work. You know what I'm saying?
No, definitely, man. Definitely. I agree with you 100%. It's weird because all parents, you want your kids to be better than you, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And whatever it is, it didn't even have to be basketball.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I got lucky that he chose that path and I had the experience to be able to help him. But, no matter what they are, you as a parent, you rooting for them to do better, and you just extremely excited for them to achieve things.
No, definitely. Like I said, I was like, every time I see him, I'd be like, I remember when you was a baby. I saw you when you was a baby.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I was just like, man, the fact that he's doing this thing, I'm just really proud of him. But I'm also really proud of you being his dad and understanding the situation.
Yeah, for sure. Appreciate that.
No. So I want to say this: you didn't underachieve. You led the conference in scoring, average like 20 a game. Should have been player of the year. Give or take myself. But being Jerry Green.
Jerry. Yeah.
I told Jerry, like, me and Rock should have been player of the year that year. That's I just when I interviewed him, you should have been player of the year that year.
Yeah, they did. Jerry did work. He's a hell of a player, though.
No. He also said that you was the hardest player he ever had to guard ever in college. He said that he's like, Rock was the hardest by far. So you're leading the conference in scoring. You're all conference Big West first team. And like I said, you don't get drafted. What's the next thing after that?
Well, obviously, I just told you a story
about the G League.
How I reacted next, and what happened next. So from there, I went from the D League at the time. I played with Tiny Archibald. I go down there. I'm probably there for 2-3 weeks, and Tiny Archibald gets fired. So they bring in, I was just working my way back into shape and playing and, trying to be, have a role on that team. And then they bring in, who's the coach at Pittsburgh right now?
You got me on that.
I'm talking about. He played that dude, black dude.
Dude. Johnny Hawkins? Is it Hawkins?
No, not Hawkins. He about our age. He a little bit older.
Is it Camby? No, I was gonna say Camby, but no, it's I can't think of the name.
Really, it's killing me right now. Anyway, I went and his dad got the job. His dad was the coach as well. His dad passed away, rest in peace. But I went and he came in, and it's a business. Not that he didn't like me but I just wasn't his guy. So
of course,
he ended up bringing in his guys, and they cut me. So my first, I came home back to Cali, and I think my first gig was out in Dominican Republic. Went out to Dominican Republic for my first pro gig. Probably made like $800 a week. You know what I'm saying? And had to take what I could take to get pushing, get moving. And I played well out there. I got MVP and all that stuff, and led the league in scoring, took them to the chip and all that stuff. So that was my first humbling, that was my humbling beginnings of being a pro. And from there, I got lucky enough to be able to go around the world and play. I played in, Colombia, Venezuela, Dominican Republic, as I mentioned, France, Portugal, China, Colombia, and Philippines.
Okay.
So I played, I don't know, off and on, probably 9 years, 9 to 10 years. And, I ended up retiring. I had my kids and I had my family. At the time, my wife she couldn't travel with me. She didn't have her papers done and all of that stuff. So I ended up retiring because my son was, I was, that life, you be gone 9 months out the year. And, I needed to be there for my family. And my son was getting older. I didn't want to be an absentee dad. So
I get that.
Retired.
Yep. No, I get that. So, trust me, it's a situation where, I remember like my last year, my son was like 3 years old, and he was crying when I left. And I was just like, well, this is gonna be my last year because I just didn't want to be. The money started being real funny, and like it wasn't worth the trip anymore. And so like I just didn't want to just be playing. I didn't want to be just playing just to play. You know what I'm saying? Like just
playing just to play. Yeah.
Really
that money get tricky over there, man. The contracts, the money. It's a real grind. I mean, obviously we blessed to have done it. But it wasn't all glitz and glamour for sure.
Oh, man, heck no, man. It was a situation where, heck no, man. It was hard. It was really hard at points.
Very hard.
So,
very hard, my brother. But, we did it. It is what it is. Like I said, these experiences help us not only just with my son, just with the next generation of kids. Obviously I coach and I train and, I was able to touch a lot of young kids' lives and help them throughout their journey just based on my past and not even my best past. Most of the lessons and knowledge I give them is based on stuff that I messed up on. You know what I mean? So
that's the whole point of it. Like to give them the knowledge so they don't make the same mistakes that you
Absolutely.
And so like you said, you did 10 years or 19 years overseas, you retired. What would be the best advice that you could give? Like, obviously you have a son in the next generation, but the next generation of like rocks who are in college trying to go to wherever, NBA overseas or whatever the case is.
Yeah. The most important thing that I know for a fact now is the only thing you got to do is it sounds corny as hell, but you just got to keep working. Like no matter what, work. You know what I'm saying? Lock it, be dedicated to the game. Like you can't play this game for what the game brings you. That can't be your motivation. You know what I'm saying? Your motivation gotta actually be the love of the game because the game is so tough, man. If you don't love it, you ain't gonna succeed. And all of the things that come along with playing basketball, it starts with being successful on the court. Like those things will be there. You know what I'm saying? So I just tell kids like, yo, you just got to work. Like everything else that comes, you just got to focus on your game, focus on getting better and have tunnel vision, no matter what obstacles, no matter how many times you fail, while you're playing, because you have such a short window of your life to play basketball. While you're playing, you have to give every ounce of what you have until you're done. Like that's it. Like if you feel like you don't want to work no more, then you just shouldn't play.
No, I agree. I 100% agree. 100% agree on that one. I think while you're in it, just do it because like you said, like once it's over, it's over.
It's over.
It ain't no coming back. So when did you know it was time to hang it up? You just kind of knew?
Well, I think, I'm a pretty fat guy, but I was pretty damn explosive. You know what I mean? Like I could jump, with the best of them, And I think one year I was in the, I think I was playing in the ABA. And, I got on the break, and I took off like, I could jump, I take off real light. Like, I was like, got to the point I was trying to dunk with two hands, end up finger rolling with one. You know what I'm saying? I was like, that was like the first time where I kind of was getting to the point like, damn, I can't even jump like I used to. What happened? So I didn't quite retire then because obviously it was, it was still my way of making money and living for my family. But I knew I was getting close around that time. I knew I was getting close.
It was getting like when I'm taking off
close.
for a dunk and I'm barely making a layup. Okay.
I finger roll it. So yeah, fortunately I could shoot, I could score and all that stuff. So like I played some more years without relying on my athleticism. I was still just good enough to be able to score the way I did. But yeah, that body is unforgiving. The worst part about basketball, what I tell kids is that the older you get, the better player you actually become. It's just the worse your body becomes. I know right now, if I had the same body that I did when I was young, I'd be probably 10 times a better player than I was right now. Right. But that body, that body don't stay with you all the years. So,
no, I agree with you. No, let's say so. You retire, right? And how was the transition for you after after you retired?
The transition for me actually was like, it was really hard, to be honest with you. Like, I'm not even gonna lie to you, because it's not because of money or what you get from the game. The transition for me was so hard because I had done this at a high level my whole life. And it was something that I was extremely in love with doing. And the feeling that you get from basketball, from playing in a packed arena, from being someone looked upon as, almost as a star, or, playing in another country, the excitement of getting a new job and going to another country and exploring the other country and, competing in another country, in another venue, and having a chance to compete and play. Those are feelings of, that can't be matched when you come home and you just like working a regular job. You know what I'm saying? Or you know what I'm saying, Trav?
I know.
Yeah. So you almost, basketball players are so lucky, because we almost don't have to really grow up in those years, because you're really just playing a sport and playing a game that you played your whole life. Right. So when you come home, you come in what I call to the real world, and like real grown up, real world stuff.
Yeah.
And it's a bit of a shocker at first, because the adrenaline rush and what you feel that basketball can give you, you don't have that outlet no more.
No. No, you don't.
You don't have that outlet no more. So it was difficult for me to deal with. I would stress out a lot, and you work in regular jobs. You're paying bills. You're not looking forward to doing anything. It's tough. So the thing that made it, obviously got me through is my family. Family gets you through those things. My wife, my kids, and I put my energy into I started coaching and I started training and, make sure that I was around the game as much as I can be. And now I enjoy my boring life.
No, I tell you were opposite of me, man, because I wanted nothing to do with basketball for like years after I played. I was mad at the world. I was mad at myself. I was even mad at God, God forbid. I don't, I'm not the case now. But I was like, God, was I that big of an asshole? Like for me not to be playing anymore? So I got really, really low, and I just, at points.
Well, we were actually not opposite. We were actually the same. We just reacted opposite. How we dealt with it, but we were going through the same feelings. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, no. You had, like you said, you had your family. I had my family. It's just different. You had your wife, your kids.
Right.
I had, I was going through with my son's mom at the time. It was a lot going on, the money situation. It was just tough.
It was real life stuff.
Yes.
Stuff that you would have been in another country, probably just sending some bread back, making sure your family good, but you're doing your thing, not really dealing with it.
You didn't have to. You didn't, like when you're overseas, it like you said, it isolates you from like real world stuff.
Absolutely.
Like, it keeps you so locked in on like, all I got to do is hoop tonight.
All I gotta do is play basketball.
Yeah, all I gotta do is get up and hoop.
And I'm a wire this money over to her, so my man could be good and blah blah blah, and I'm good. That's it.
Pretty much. Like seriously. Like, because like once you hear like, okay, I wire my mama some bread or my son some bread or whatever, like I don't have to hear about it for a month.
Yeah, you did your job.
Yeah, I'm good.
You did your job.
I'm good. So yeah, I just give, like I give you so much respect because people don't realize, like Rock was the first dude who had like a real family in college. Like he had like a wife and 2 kids, like you know what I'm saying, in college. Like, in college, you thinking about kicking and going out. Bro, Rock had like, I gotta go home to the wife and kids. You know what I'm saying? In college, like Rock was one of those dudes. Long Beach State was one of those schools that half the team had no kids, the other half was family men.
Yeah, for sure. We did have a unique situation though.
Yeah, no. It wasn't like, oh, let's go to the bar to go. No, I gotta check in with the wife. I gotta make sure the wife is cool with it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so I ended up having my second kid my senior year in college. So I had 2.
That's what I said. I remember. Like, you had a real family. Rock had a real family, like a real family.
That's all right. That's why I'm chilling now, though, because they all grown.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about it, because all the kids are out the house.
My youngest is 18, and he about to be gone, so that's
the good thing about it.
I'm gonna have my fun now. Me and wifey, that's when we're gonna be traveling all over the world now, having some fun.
Oh no, definitely, man. Like I said, you about to be in Cole, Nebraska, Kansas, all this Iowa State, all that.
I ain't
man.
looking forward to all that cold, but yeah, I will be there though for sure.
No, I got you. Well, last question for you, Rock. We always ask our people who come on the show with this last question, like at some point in time in your career or after, we all go through those low points of being, a basketball or life, and we always ask, like, how did you get out of it? People always want to know, how did you get out of it? Everybody can get into the low points, but how do you get out of it?
Oh yeah, for sure. Sure. Well, for me, another corny thing, like corny thing is just the truth. It's more to me. It's like my personal relationship with God. Like
oh, that ain't corny. That's real. That's facts.
Yeah, it's a fact, man. Like to me, God and my family. God and my family is everything. Like especially the older you get, you realize that nothing is really worth accomplishing if you don't have your loved ones to share it with. You know what I'm saying? And my loved ones is obviously my whole family, but my immediate family that I created. If that's not enough motivation to get you out of a hole, then I don't know what else would be.
No, that's great, man. That's 100%. Yeah, without God, like I said, I wouldn't have made it through. Even though I was mad at him. But eventually I got over myself, and then
I'm not a quote unquote holy roller either. You know what I'm saying? That's why I mention that my personal relationship, you know what I'm saying, with God is more important. I ain't at a church every Sunday. I ain't preaching and doing all that, but I gotta tell my son the most important thing is your personal relationship.
No, I agree with you. Like, like God is knowing all, seeing all. So it ain't about being like the high, like I go to church every Sunday or whatever. Right. Like he has personal relationships with everybody. So look, yeah, you know what I'm saying? So like when I was overseas, he was my relationship, my closest, because I was.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
That's so. No doubt.
So we will. Well, thank you, Mr. Lloyd. I appreciate you coming on the show, man. People don't. I've been trying to get Rock on for about a year. You know what I'm saying? Rock has always been busy. So I just appreciate him coming on. I got so.
Nah, don't make it seem like I always been busy. He just had the more important guests go first. You know what I'm saying? I just had to wait my turn. The bigger names went first. It's all good. I'm here.
No, stop it. I would have took Rock first. He would have been on first interview. But I know he was busy. He doing his future, so I respect that. You know what I'm saying?
So, good, brother. I appreciate you, man.
No problem. You know what I'm saying? Well. I know you're really not a big guy on social media and things like that, but let people know where they can follow you. check out what you're doing if you allow them to, you know what I'm saying?
Oh
Give them
no,
all
no,
your
I'm
information.
on social media. You know, I'm a foodie. I pretty much post everything I eat all the time.
You
Traveling, and
do. You be making
on
me
board
hungry. I'll
people
be
type
like,
of
I can't
stuff.
look at rock stuff. You making me hungry.
Yeah, ain't nothing too important. But more importantly, you guys follow my son. You know, that's bigger for me. My Instagram is senior.Ramel Lloyd. And my son is Ramel Lloyd with 2 D's at the end. You know, follow him, keep up with us. You know, he got next.
Oh, definitely. And I mean, like, yeah, if y'all ain't seen his son play, you better recognize because he's about to be something special at the next level and beyond the next level. I think his game is a pro game, and I'm not even gassing Rock up because Rock's my boy. Like his game is a pro game. It's not a college game. It's an NBA game, and his game is I've seen a lot of NBA guys in high school.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? A lot of NBA guys played against a lot of them. So I think his son could be something special because he's 6'6", long, smooth, can shoot it, not afraid of the moment.
Yes, sir.
Got that dog and got that scores mentality like his daddy. His dad was never afraid of the moment, never afraid to take the big shot. Was 6'4", but a bulldog. Hated to go against him in practice. Like, damn, I can't box Rock out. This big heavy ass. I can push everybody out, but hate to move Rock.
Hey, and then there was no refs in practice, so I was able to grab.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I said. Rock that's how he was, man. And so, thank you again for coming on the show, man. Like I said, you my brother, man. To bring you on anytime you want to come on, please come on. And like I said, thank you. And also you could catch me on Travis W. Reed on Instagram, at Travis W. Reed on Instagram, Travis W. Reed on Facebook. I post all my social media there. Some coming up with the show. We're gonna start probably posting on YouTube clips and things like that of the whole show. So we're trying to expand. We're trying to expand the show, get it bigger. But
expansion is always good.
Yeah,
sure.
Always trying to expand and do some more things. So you'll be able to hear the voice, but you'll also be able to see the face with the voice. So you'll be seeing Rock on my social media. We'll put a clip on, and you'll see. I'll post everything when he's coming because he's gonna be coming pretty soon. Like I said, thank you, Rock. Appreciate it. You know what I'm saying? All right, and you know what I'm saying. Like I said, one love to you.
Yep, one love, brother. We talk soon.
Yes.
Peace.